I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing.
Today we have a special guest. We always have a special guest. Today we have Justin Pallis from DSUW in Lowell, Mass. Welcome, sir.
Hello, Warren. How you been?
Well, I'm living the COVID dream. Everything's been great. And how you doing?
Good. We're hanging in there like everyone else is. You know, it's tough times, but you gotta, when you know, get lemons, you gotta make lemonade. That's what we say, and that's what we're trying to do here at
Hey, I like
DSUW.
that. Why don't you take a few minutes and just let all of my my huge listener base of like 6 know what you do, because you guys do some pretty cool stuff, and I think you guys are pretty awesome.
Sure. So we're a privately held firm in the Northeast United States, based in Massachusetts, and we've just recently joined forces with another company. We were DSG, now we're DSGUW, and that combined force has a annual revenue of a little south of 100 million a year, and we have almost 450 employees combined.
Hey.
Yeah, and we've that's actually down from the beginning of this whole COVID nightmare. We actually have more than that, and we have a lot of different avenues for production. The company that was UW, they had a full arsenal of traditional web presses, and they did a lot of digital work that we didn't do at DSG. And what we have done is we've upgraded their equipment. We're in the middle of revitalizing the company, where we built a brand new facility, South Boston, of about 300,000 square feet.
Hang on, time out. You just built a new facility. At the beginning of January, you guys started this acquisition.
It's true.
You signed for it, because I remember talking to you a couple of times during it and kind of shaking my head when the COVID shit started.
That's true.
But you guys at the end of March signed and closed the deal. March 13th was a lot of people's last day at work before we had the first lockdown. How was your stomach and your brothers and everybody during that period? Because you were headed into double the size, another location, and we're not talking little. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, at 100 million, you're like mini monsters.
Yes, that's true.
Right? How, stomach-wise, ulcers, pain, throwing up, anything?
Well, let's put it this way. I am in business with my 4 siblings, and we are the principals of the company. But
You've been beat up by the other 3 before.
We realized that we were trying to look long term, and initially, like a lot of companies, we've taken a good hit, and I think our sales in our North facility are probably down about 20% from year over year. And by
the way, 20% in the market is not bad today, right? You must have a good, and I say that only from the people I've spoken to, right? So you must have a good base.
I've been told that that's not a bad number to be down in this day and age with everything that's going on. But what we really thought about was, when setting up the new facility, was consolidation and efficiencies. And the company that we merged with was 2 different facilities. We put them together. We were able to take a lot of the commonality between the companies and put it into one unit, either in a north plant or a south plant. So at the end of the day, even though our business overall is roughly down about 20%, and it hurts and it's not fun, and we're trying constantly to re-efficientize the business to make sure that we're doing the right thing as far as equipment and personnel. We feel that by the consolidation of the 2 companies, we're going to actually be able to offset that downturn. So we're looking very positively going forward that not only will we be able to offset the downturn, but we'll also be able to garner a lot of new customers. And we're already seeing people because they know of our 24-hour capability, our big footprint. So I think, I'll go by the old adage, the pie will be smaller because a lot of companies have gone out of business, but there'll be less people taking a piece. So,
right.
And we're hoping to be one of those people that's reaching for that smaller pie, if you will. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. We've done a lot of things to kind of combat the COVID effect. We've merged the 2 sales teams, we merged the management teams, we do weekly calls on I gotta say there's 50, 100 people on the call, all trying to think in unison and try to be march to one beat. And merging companies is not an easy thing to do. We've done it a few times, so we have.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but I was gonna say, on a good day, merging two companies, trying to take two cultures, two philosophies. Obviously, one is stronger than the other, or they wouldn't have merged.
Yeah.
And the ones who fight it, or not fight it, but have a harder time with it, are the new ones coming in.
Yep.
What did you do and how did you do it? Because on top of that, you're doing it at a time when everybody's freaking out for their work, for their life, for their families, for their kids. These are unprecedented times that we've never seen. What did you do, or how did you do it? And then how were the people responding and coming in? Because everyone I talked to today, forget our industry, everybody's in a crazy place in their head. Right? No one knows. How did you manage it? How were the people? Did you give out donuts every morning? Did you make breakfast? You're not a tech company, so you didn't have all those games, but you know.
No, I think the new facility is a big part of it, and it's on two fronts. Is that the people that were at the company we brought in are now looking at their old place and they're saying, wow, it's dated, it's kind of like wasn't efficient, and now they're going to move to a new facility that's going to be state-of-the-art. It's going to look and give a fresh approach to the business, but that's only one side of the equation, because the other side of the equation is we're talking to accounts now that are, eventually going to restart. They're seeing the investment that we're doing in this troubled time, and they're saying to themselves, everyone else is going the other way, and these guys seem to be doing something contrary to the herd mentality, so to speak. And when they see the new facility and the investment, and we're able to go into these customers and kind of resell a lot of the people that they had parted ways with, and they see the influx of capital that's going into it. So it's breathing new life into that end of the operation. And I think a lot of the lost accounts are contemplating coming back. Some have already come back. So it's actually, it's going to be a good success story, I think.
Oh, listen, next time I'm going to come down to a video in the plant. No, I think that's amazing. I think that, bringing the sales team together is probably good at this time. You mentioned when we were chatting that you didn't really have a big crossover of accounts between the two companies.
No, we didn't. And the nice part about that was when we did our due diligence, when we thought about acquiring this company that was pretty much the same size of us, but they were not in the financial shape that we were in. We were able to do the inside investigation. When we looked at their account list, we said, geez, how often can you acquire a company that's almost generally your size, and you're only talking a handful of accounts that basically would be crossed over with between the two organizations. They did a lot of financial type work. They did a lot of healthcare stuff that we weren't working on. So a lot of those industries that we weren't keyed in on, they were exploiting. So it was a really, really nice fit between the two organizations.
Wow, I think that's pretty amazing. Now, in terms of equipment and stuff, if I go by memory, which as I get older is not that good, and like I said, I've been drinking, so it's even a little harder. I got a little part-timer starting in the last 6 months. But you guys were equipped with big webs and offset presses, and I think if I remember, you had like the HP 10,000 or 12,000, and you also, and all the other stuff, but you also just put in, I think, the new Konica Minolta. Is it the KM1?
We did put one of those in, and we put that in our north plant, and that brought us a whole new level of inkjet capability, which I could go on and on about it, but it's turning into
please do go on and on about it, because everyone's talking inkjet, and I'm always interested to know what everyone's doing, because it really is not for everyone yet.
Right.
And the manufacturers, to be really fair, they might be mad at me, but they're shoving inkjet down everyone's throat like it's the latest invention. But that's what they do whenever new stuff comes out, before everyone determines who's good for it or not. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of people that are swearing by it. I'm seeing that the quality is looking better. So were you doing no inkjet before that?
No, we've been heavily invested in inkjet for about almost a decade now.
Okay.
So we had two HP, a T230 and 265, which basically text inkjet presses. And this KM is kind of taking us to the arena of, it can do anything from plastics to packaging. And the nice part about the UV inkjet, because the other machinery that we had was not UV inkjet. Right. It comes off like bulletproof, and it's hard. It's impervious to marking. We've done mailings through it. You know how the postal systems can be. They just print the material like it's a doormat, and
like they treat their employees.
Yeah. And it comes out the other side looking as good as it did when it came off the press. So. It's kind of opening up a lot of new doors when it comes down to how we think about producing things that needs durability and substrate requirements and signage. And, you know, in this current COVID situation, you need all those different things to tell people to stay distant from each other. And they have to stand up to the test of time. They can't wear out. And this piece of equipment, I think they built it around the mantra of it has to show its durability of the final product. And that's exactly what the KM does. So,
wow, that's pretty cool. And I mean, listen, I was doing UV since 2008, like good UV, because there was always some bad UV before that. But UV is a game changer. It was a game changer in offset. It was a game changer everywhere because I remember when aqueous coating started, everybody was like, oh, you just need a coater and your job comes off aqueous and you're ready to go to bindery. And that was like the biggest crock of shit I ever heard. Because they'll still take a day or two, and if it's a blue to dry or blah, blah. But with the UV, it really is wonderful. Are your offset presses fitted with UV?
So we've traveled a very interesting UV journey. We had the traditional Heidelberg 8 colors, 10 colors, 12 colors, and they were the traditional ink and press that you would think of. We've converted them now all over to UV equipment. And
wow.
We've even bought 2 new ones that had it already from the factory. So that kind of did a little bit of a morphing over to the UV environment. We saw the benefits of it. So when we purchased the KM, we saw the UV benefit, and we immediately thought it was a great fit. And we're also in the middle of purchasing a press called the Whisk press, which is basically a Goss web press to replace the equipment of the company we just acquired, and that's going to be a UV web press as well.
So only because I don't really know much about UV web presses, and I know I'm gonna roughly how much is it? I know when I bought a 56-inch 6-color fully loaded 142 kVA, it was upwards of $5 million.
Yeah,
now that's an offset. So I'm thinking this is double.
When it's all said and done, you'll be north of 6. But the nice part about it, why it's a little cheaper than you would think, and I say that in quotes, is that it because they've added UV to it, they were allowed to eliminate a lot of the collection equipment that used to have to be in place because of the volatile chemicals it would emit. And the new equipment is a lot smaller, it's a lot more efficient, and the big thing is much more environmentally friendly. So when this Whisk press goes in, it's going to be the first of its type in the United States, and it's manufactured in Shanghai, China, and we just signed off on that. So that's going to do the work of 3 webs at our South facility right now. That's
so you're eliminating how many webs to put this in?
3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And are you selling the others, or are they just going out for scrap metal?
Well, I gave them, one of them, you're not too far off. It was definitely a scrap metal candidate, and it wasn't being utilized. But the other 2, you know, they have a market. And
India.
Probably in some other portion of the world, they do very well. But around here, especially in Massachusetts, they're very strict with emitting anything into the atmosphere. I'm not sure how it is in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
If we would have set those presses up in the new plant that we've just built, we would have had a lot of permitting issues due to the fact that the stuff that they emit is not environmentally friendly at all. So the new press comes in, you don't need the exhaust that the other ones have. You don't need the collection systems. You don't need a lot of the things that were put in place to keep it from, being a real terror on the environment.
Yeah, for sure. So, listen, sounds like you're saving a lot of space, a lot of time, a lot of money, maintenance over time, upkeep. Absolutely. So that'll be pretty cool. So the other thing I noticed over the last few months was your online presence has picked up a little.
Oh yeah, yep.
Right. I've personally, I don't know if you noticed, but I personally sat in on a lot of those calls. I was looking for free T-shirts or something. I thought there was a giveaway. But I think you guys have been doing a really good job of just the emails, the reaching out, the follow up with the online Zoom meeting or conference, or call it what you want these days. I don't know anymore. And then the follow up email. Like, I'm always impressed with the follow up after, because really that's what it's about. Right. Everybody could start something. If you're not on it after, it doesn't do any good. How's that been for you?
That's been really good. We've taken a 3-pronged approach. We've really stepped up our presence on social media. We've taken our marketing. We have the luxury of having a marketing department, and they have really stepped up their game as far as connecting with people remotely, because they know that is the new paradigm that you have to really master. And what they've done is they've not only engaged everybody on our customer list in an educational manner, but they put things out there that basically connect each one to the other. So there comes a series of calls, and they really, really like kind of work in concert with each other, give you the complete communication toolbox, if you will. And the other part of that is that we make sure that whenever we're sending a campaign out, we try to do it in as many forms as possible, because we're a firm believer nowadays that print just one suite of services. You have to be able to offer the complete email, texting, you know, electronic follow-ups, you know, whatever that might entail. Virtual reality. We've done a few of those for our customers as well. And the augmented reality as well, we've mixed that in on printed pieces. So I mean, it's really becoming, for us, if you're going to engage your customers and try to tell them that you're the expert or the one that's trying to educate them, whether it's a mailing regulation thing or a program or some sort of electronic tie-in to your print campaign, or if it's just strictly electronic, what we want to give results of what those campaigns can do for our customers and how we can help them execute them, and how they can use them in this current environment that the COVID has kind of put us into. So, I mean, that was our goal of all those different things that you witnessed yourself. So.
Yeah, no, and I think, you know, you nailed it on the head when you said feedback to the customers and get a little change of light there, huh?
I know.
The light's moving on the outside. That's okay. Usually I'm dark. But, you know, I've been listening on a lot of Zooms on overseas and here and whatnot. Is that putting it out in the universe? Putting it in, oh, you have a special light system. You clap and the lights go on. I like that.
All our lighting in our company is connected to motion. So if no
Right.
one is moving, it shuts down.
That's, all of a sudden the place goes dark. You know?
So you know we're not doing well if all the lights at the SUW go
That's
off.
right. That's funny. But so I was just saying, so I've been sitting on all these calls and listening, and everyone's talking direct mail and they're pushing it. And I personally think it's important. I don't know today how solid it is, because we don't know who's open, who's not, who wants to spend the money on a campaign, unless you're like a financial or one of those big services. Even retailers don't know what they're doing yet today. But my point is, on a lot of those calls, when they're telling people to do that, there's a lot of companies that are going out to try to act like marketing service providers that are not well versed in giving back proper results. So what I've said to some people is, you better watch what you say when you go out and offer up some services and some great ideas, because if you're telling the customer you're going to have a response rate of X and you don't, you just killed yourself, you know, shot yourself in the foot.
No,
so I think, you know,
point.
do you work with any other print companies? And the reason I ask that is because what I see or hear going out there is there's going to be a lot of people that maybe can't keep the facilities open. And with all the services that you have, you probably could be a lead-in for some other print companies.
Yeah, about a third of our business is trade.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So we're in a really good position to help a lot of different people out. And just before I forget that point about proving the ROI on your campaign, we're a big proponent, if we offer a solution to somebody, to testing. So do an A/B test. So you send out what you've regularly done, and then you try it with the approach that we have asked you to give it a shot. And then if it works, then you expand it. If it doesn't work, you go back to where you were, or you don't do it. You know, so
right.
It's definitely one of those things that you want to prove to your customers that it needs to show results, because it does you no good to go and pitch this whole campaign to somebody and then, like you said, come back and have the exact, either the worst case scenario, have worse results. But you know, you definitely want to be able to do a testing of it. And that's what the digital inkjet does a great job of. You really
right.
run the small batches of stuff, send it to a particular list of customers, see where the response is, and really kind of take that data and show the ROI that the campaign proves. So, but I just do want to mention that.
So I always thought a good idea, and I never got around to doing it, but I wanted to do for my company at the time all sorts of direct mail and mailing to our customer base and track it in every way possible and make our own case study, not a customer's case study. Because I always believe in our industry, and I don't even like to say printing anymore, I'll just say the industry, most of the companies, and even today, I'll call them out on it because I think they're all shit. they don't do enough of what we do for themselves to prove to our customers that it's all viable.
I agree.
I was always a believer of making samples, mailing out samples, dropping them off, because it's the easiest way to reach more people at once.
Yep.
When you spend the money on nice samples and you give it out, I know when people have stuff in their hand, we once did a scented piece with a green apple smell, and every meeting for a year that I went to and I put it on the table, the whole meeting, people would be sitting there and rubbing it and smelling their hand and smiling, right? Or I was gonna make a bad scratch and sniff joke, but anyways. But then I sent to people that I didn't even see it. It was on their wall, and I would just call, check in later, and they'd say, 6 months later, it's still smelling like green apple. So whether I got work or not, hopefully I did, I know that I had an everlasting effect on them, that they will remember me, good or bad, right? So go ahead.
I was gonna say, and we've had customers that we basically said to them, take one half of your list, do it your traditional way, and take the other half, and let's do an electronic campaign, and let's look at the ROI from both those campaigns. And who knows? We've had customers that have gone completely electronic, and we help them with that. We're not all about the print ink on paper. We're about helping our customers gain results. And however we can help do that, there's a lot of different ways. And we have customers that we manage their complete campaigns electronically. They never print a leaf of paper. So and if you're willing to do that and hybrid yourself into a company that's helping somebody with the message, because these things ebb and flow. 1 minute the electronic's the only way to go because the budget's not there for a physical piece. Next thing you know, you're not getting results, and you got to put something in someone's hands, and now you're going the other way. So you can't paint yourself into a corner to go one way or the other. You have to be able to adjust on the fly.
I think two examples come to mind. One was a few years ago, Nordstrom's. If I remember correctly, they decided one season to not print their catalog.
Yep. And
their sales went down.
Yep.
I mean, with them, I would think most of their clients were probably a little bit more well-to-do and a little older, just because they got a price point, but they came back. And then I look at IKEA, who I think could be the biggest printer of catalogs in the world.
I wouldn't doubt that.
And from what I remember, and again, I have part-timers, so don't hold me to it, but the average person keeps an IKEA catalog all year.
Wow.
Right? Which I think is pretty good. And I think you nailed it on the head, because when the whole internet started and all that stuff, everybody was like pissing on print and all that stuff, and you got to go. But I remember when it all started, the internet, I got more mailings from AOL and CDs than anybody else. I mean, so they had to use us to get out there.
Yep.
And today it all goes hand in hand. You need to send the reminder, because not everyone's looking at their email anymore. We get too much of it.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, your IT people and your people in your infrastructure are paid to straighten things out so you can focus on what's important. And if you're trying to electronically send someone a message, it's that funnel's getting smaller and smaller until it gets to the end user. And at certain times it becomes irrelevant. You have to take, the campaign a different direction, whether that means a printed piece or some sort of text campaign or anything. You have to be able to change gears and see what the results will be.
And to accommodate all the different people doing, there is no one person or one group or one genre doing anything the same. So you got to be over it.
I listened to a great person speak once, and he said, we're all digital immigrants, anyone over the age, I think like 35, 40 years old. And all the people that aren't digital immigrants, I mean, they grew up with it from day one. At some point, there's going to be a tipping point, but that doesn't mean that those markets still as of this point in our history don't exist. You have to cater to the different groups depending on how they react to your buying.
I think they'll always all exist. Mm-hmm. I think the customer will get better at adapting to using the one that works for them at the time, but will always need all of them come. Listen, at the end of the day, to be really honest, like, I still like my Bass Pro Shop catalog. Yeah. When I'm sitting on a can for 45 minutes and my knees are falling asleep, I like to see the pictures.
There you go.
Right?
Yep.
I don't know, and I'm not going to be the only one to say this, but I'm sure when you've been in the can many people, if you haven't dropped it in the bowl, you dropped it on the floor and cracked your screen. I had the Kindle, I'd fall asleep, it would bruise my forehead. I'm back to paperback. I'm back to paperback because with the paperback, so maybe you got a paper cut, but you're not hurt.
No,
right?
I'm with you there. I mean,
So
there's
it's
certain
all
things
good.
you can do with printed material, you can't do with electronic, for sure.
No, exactly. Cool. So a couple things before we go. Number one, I want to thank you for your time.
Oh, anytime.
Always great. If you're good, I'd like to quarterly check in with you and monitor the progress of what you're doing, because I think I'm actually blown away. I don't know anybody from scratch that would do an acquisition, build a new plant in the middle of everything going on in this world.
Well, we're going to have a virtual open house, and I'm going to make sure that you take part in that.
Oh, no. I might even be there for the virtual open house, because I'm getting a little, I haven't been on a plane in 6 months. I'm going a little wonky.
We're trying to get everyone to see the new facility, and we know the current conditions out there in the world prohibit other people from coming. We're going to make sure people can see it, whether they're at their computer or if they're there in person.
So again, I want to thank you. I want to wish you all the best of luck.
Yeah, I look forward to sharing our progress with you next when we meet, when we talk again. I'll be able to share some things with you. So
that'll be amazing.